And go.
Story time with me. Hi, this is my first story time. So today we're going to be reading a serendipity book, and it's called Gnome from Nome, and it's written by Stephen
Cosgrove.
illustrated by Robin James. Let's jump in. The coldest place in all the world is far north of everywhere. It's simply called the North Pole. It's so cold, nothing much lives there except for one small creature, a lonely gnome. Now let me tell you, the gnome was cold. In fact, so cold, living there at the North Pole, his ears were frosty pink and his nose was bright, bright blue. He would scream and shout and stomp and try to get warm. For you see, the gnome was cold inside and out. If I shout, he shouted, the cold will get out and not stay in. Sure enough, every time he would scream or shout, a puff of white cold would come out, but still the gnome was not warm inside out.
Can you show the pictures?
Yep. Here's the pictures.
Okay.
One day the gnome could stand it no longer and decided to head south, where it just had to be warmer. He gathered all his belongings, his icicle toothbrush, his favorite purple pajamas with the furry feet, and his magic paint set given to him by the master of the Northern Lights. He packed them in his knapsack and set off to the south. He walked, shouted, skittered, and skated for days until he came to what today is called Alaska. Much to his dismay, it was just as cold there as it had been in the North Pole. Darn! He screamed. I'm too tired to go on, and I'm still freezing.
Picture.
Then the gnome spotted all the branches and sticks lying around. Maybe, he thought loudly, if I light a fire, I can get warm. So he set out and collected wood and built the biggest bonfire you ever saw. The gnome stood away from the fire and waited to get warm. But nothing happened, so he stood a little closer, and still nothing happened. And finally he did what you're never supposed to do. He stood too close to the fire that his beard began to smolder. Oh no! He shouted and jumped headfirst into a snowbank to put out his smoldering beard. I would not want to do that. The poor gnome felt so dejected. He just sat on a frozen log and began to cry, large frozen tears. Oh dear, he shouted. There must be no way in this world for me to get warm inside and out. As he sat there crying, a sea otter happened by, shaking and shivering and wearing a heavy plaid scarf. Why are you crying? Shivered the otter. Because I'm so cold, shouted the gnome. Then why are you shouting? Then why are you shouting? Why are you shouting? Chattered the otter. Because, yelled the gnome, when I shout, it gets part of the cold from the inside out. Sorry, I had to do the kind of teeth. Okay. The otter thought for a moment and then tilted his head back and shouted just as loud as he could. I'm not actually going to yell. Sure enough, came out a puff of cold. Then in the cold silence, the two of them just sat there on the log, shivering and shaking and shouting and trying to figure out how to get warm inside and out. Okay. Yelled the otter. In my travels, I've noticed that humans are never cold inside and out. Maybe if we were around them, we could learn their secret. We've got to get them to come to us, chattered the gnome. I'm so cold, I don't think I could walk another step. They sat together and thought. Finally, the gnome came up with a plan. All humans like gold, he shouted. I'll use the magic paints given to me by the master of the northern lights and turn everything into gold. Then the humans will come and we will ask them for our secret in exchange for the gold. That's a good plan. The gnome rummaged around in his knapsack until he found his magic can of gold paint. And then he and the otter began painting everything gold. When they were all done, they stood back and looked at what they had painted. With all this gold around, the humans should tell us their secret, chattered the gnome. And so he and the otter set out to tell the humans. The two of them climbed the highest mountain around, and while Otter looked on, the gnome shouted at the top of his voice, Gold! Gold! We've discovered gold! Sorry, loud. I don't know if you've ever heard a gnome shout, but if you have, you'll know what I mean when I say his voice carried on for miles and miles. There wasn't a human within 1,000 miles who didn't know there was gold in Alaska. The gnome and otter ran down to the edge of their valley to wait for the secret that would make them warm inside and out. Humans already began to arrive by the hundreds, but they just ignored the gnome and the otter. Won't someone please tell us the secret of being warm inside and out? Shivered and shouted the frozen gnome, but no one would stop. In fact, they pushed the poor gnome and frozen otter right into a snowbank. Those humans were picking up all the gold and didn't even notice the gnome and otter. Just about then, a prospector happened by. He saw the two sitting in the snow. Who are you? Asked the prospector. Why are you not picking up any gold? I'm the gnome, and this is otter, shivered the gnome. We don't need gold. We made it so you would come here and tell us the secret of being warm from the inside out, but everyone has just ignored us. The prospector thought for a moment and then said, "Wait here, I'll be right back." Then he, wait here, I'll be right back. Then he hurried off to talk to the other prospectors. He hustled and bustled about until he had gathered all the humans together. "Fellow prospectors," he said. He began when the top was down. "Here's been rich, picking up all this gold. Only you can get the golden coin. Here is the ocean secret hidden yonder snow. Now we simply must come up with an answer to their problem." All the humans murmured and mumbled, sweated and grumbled until they finally figured out what to do. With cheers and shouts, they all marched back to Gnome the Otter cabin.
Yes, unanimously.
Unanimously decided that said the prop. "We have unanimously decided," said the prospector, "tell you the secret of keeping warm from the inside out." The gnome and the otter could not believe their good fortune and listened very carefully. "The reason that humans are warm from the inside out is because of love and friendship. That's the secret." "But how do we get love and friendship?" asked the otter between chattering teeth. The prospector thought for a moment, and then continued. "Friendship means the state of being friends with someone. Since you're in Alaska, you and the gnome, you are already in that state." The gnome and the otter looked at one another, and realized the prospector was right. They began to feel warm inside and out. But then the gnome asked, "But what about love? Where do we find that?" "You already have shown love by bringing us this gift of gold," said the prospector. "We are your friend, and as a token of our appreciation and love, we hereby name this town in the honor of you two. In your honor." With that, two miners brought out a large sign which read, "Nome, Alaska, population 2." The gnome and otter were so enlightened that they didn't even mind that the miners had misspelled gnome. They didn't put a G. "It's working," laughed the gnome. "I'm beginning to feel warm and toasty inside." "Me too," said the otter. "To think that all this time the secret had been right under our noses, in our hearts." So the gnome from Nome and his newfound friend, the sea otter, returned to the North Pole. And there they live to this very day, wrapped up warmly in love and friendship, sipping tea and talking very softly. So when you're cold from the inside out and don't know what to do, remember, love and friendship and warmth will always come to you. Okay, I love that book because it's about friendship and love, which I think that's amazing. I hope you enjoyed. See you next time.